Great. Adrian. Adrian Spencer of Grant Ready. And you'll be forgiven for calling him Grant, and apologies if I call him Grant. Grant Ready. Last year you assisted companies raise grants to the tune of about
20 million.
20 million last year. Wow, I was going to say 7. I don't know, I've got this fixation with 7 eyeballs and grants raised. Pardon?
There was a few big ones.
A few big ones. They must have been around December, because I probably looked at your data in November. Going back a few years, can you remember the first grant that you secured?
I remember the first grant I secured when we started Grant Ready, and I started up the business because there was a lot of frustration and confusion out in the marketplace, and people were coming to us saying, look, we know grants are out there, but it's too confusing, it's all too hard. And I've been in the grant space for about 6 years prior to that, but not really working with SMEs. And we knew that the SMEs really wanted help, really wanted some assistance to cut through the confusion of the whole process. So the first client that we signed up, we worked for the first 30 days, it was the 1st of January through to the 31st of January. We lodged it, and then we had to wait 6 months to find out if it was successful. And we were. It was fantastic because it was a reasonably small grant in the scheme of things. It was about $180,000, and it was for a project in central Victoria.
But $180,000 could be life-changing for a company.
Well, it was.
What was your first grant, Anthony?
150.
150. There you go.
Yeah. And the beauty of it was after the grant, the money had been spent and the project had been done, we were able to go back to the government and say, not only have we been successful with this project, but we've created 15 new jobs, we've put $5 million into the local economy, and the stats and figures we were able to deliver was just fantastic, and they were so happy with that. And the fact we'd actually gone back and reported really well to them, they said, well, let us know if you want some more funding.
Nice. It's a great first story. I'm sure I'll have plenty more questions for you. Nadja Mott. I keep looking at your clients here, and I'm trying to find something that they've got in common. The Australian Ballet Caulfield Races, something about the shoes.
I probably should stop you there. We have 2 companies, and one is interdisciplinary design, and the other one in interdisciplinary design is product design and hair and makeup, wardrobe, styling, basically anything that involves 3D design. And most of our clients are advertising agencies and photographers. The other company we have is we call TS1, which stands for Transportable Space 1. And that actually started as a master's project. I was doing my master's in design management at COFA, College of Fine Arts in Sydney. And TS1 just started off as an idea, and I managed to get the Sydney Morning Herald to the launch of the idea. I just launched a website and had some models dressed in architectural clothing, because TS1 is a transportable space, transportable building. So, you know, it was basically from that night where the Sydney Morning Herald came, we got a review in the paper, and people were calling us to buy this product. No one had ever heard of a product like this, and I'll just explain it now. It's understandable now, but back then, this is going back to 2002. Yes, that's how long it takes to. That's how long it takes. If I hadn't known that, I may not have never done it. So thank God I didn't know that. Basically, I was living in Chicago, and I was born in the US, but I've spent 30 years in Australia. I was staying in Chicago after being a sculptor for 11 years, and I decided to go and study design and design management. And I was sharing a studio with Rachel Perkins, who's an Aboriginal film director, and I got inspired by a story that she had an Aboriginal philosopher who told the story, who lived in France, and I didn't know there was situations like that And basically I wanted to come up with an Australian product, and it took me a long time to realise what Australian is. And
what is it?
well,
you don't have to answer that question.
Well,
I just couldn't help myself.
I basically to figure out what Australian culture is difficult. So I was a volunteer guide at the MCA for a year, and then studying my masters at COFA really helps me understand that. Basically, we have a lot of land, and through this story that Rachel has told, I realised that there's a lot of land and there's not enough housing. So I thought, what would happen if I designed a building which could be assembled in a day without tradespeople. It had height adjustable legs so that you don't have to excavate ground. It was cyclone rated and was flat packed. So through that, basically that's the TS1, and that's what I received a tax concession, the Comet grant, City of Melbourne Small Business Grant, it gives you a bit of background about our product.
Yeah, I did want Nadja to be here because I'm sure there's a number of people in here who would empathise, who run their own design businesses but might also have their own innovation on the side. Here we have someone, of course, who is they've got the day job, which is servicing the advertising industry, but at the same time developing what is essentially a design innovation.
What happened was I tried to get a Comet grant when I first came to Melbourne after moving from Sydney, and I was unsuccessful. I didn't have a few different things. I wasn't a company yet, for example. So I approached Morgan Steel for funding, and they funded up. They put in $40,000 worth of funding for our first prototype. When you're developing a product without any large amount of funding, you have to fund it somehow. So our design consultancy basically funds our innovation. So yeah, basically a lot of design consultancies don't develop their own products within their design consultancy. They're usually designing for clients. So basically we're the client for the TS1.
Excellent. So the two names of the company are the TS1, which is the shelter,
Yep.
and your own company.
Yes, and Pluscreate.
Pluscreate.
Yeah.
And then last on the panel, and I'm so sorry that I called you government twice before, but I think it's always important, and I find this when I'm talking about venture capital, is a lot of people, when they're developing their businesses and they're seeking funding in whatever form, they're often very self-focused, where they're thinking about why they deserve it rather than necessarily what are the goals or the aims of the organisation providing that funding. So I thought it would be wonderful to have Judith along, Judith Bennett, of the Creative Industries Innovation Centre, which is a new federal government unit, initiative, division. How would you call it?
I'm not quite sure
I'll
what
let you take
the
over.
official government word is for it. It's really the government recognising that creative industries can also contribute to the economy for the first time from a federal level. Design Victoria has, with Judith sponsoring it, has really recognised at the state level that designers also contribute to the economy as well as socially and culturally. It's interesting that you say that for the government, because one of the criteria of being a business advisor for the Creative Industries Innovation Centre is that you have a lot of that you have real world experience. So I've worked for government once before with law reform.
You left your brown cardigan at home today.
So I don't
I brought the cardigan
I'm
instead.
needing a brown cardigan.